It's a Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box for Doffin, he can hit them, and he does. The Doffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello everybody, welcome again. This is New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you for being with us. We have another defeat story. We've got another away game to talk about, this time in South Wales against Cardiff City.
You've got a bit ahead of yourself there, Matt.
It's just predictable, isn't it? So I'm just getting it in. I can cut that and just insert it into Sunday's episode. It'll be all gravy. Thank you all for being with us. We will be more positive than this, probably. Danny, you're with us. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are we all?
All the better for seeing you, mate. Tom's right with us. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, good. Always good.
Good stuff. And Mick's with us. I'm surprised you're not in all black in some sort of mourning for Cameron Humphries being out for like 6 months.
Oh,
it's absolutely horrible. I know this is not great for our audio listeners, but your image, Matthew, looking where you are, looks rather festive with that green goalkeeper shirt with a red hat on top and the red and white stripes. It looks like a bit of a Christmas theme.
We've just missed the Christmas tree corner, aren't we? Really?
Yeah.
Not in September though. Played a fair amount to cover tonight, and then we'll obviously preview the Cardiff game as per. Sarah Ogden's with us, so is YouTube user. Stephen Adam is calling us, is with us from Crete. Gav Grundy, Connor Simpson's with us. Harvey Kelwick, Dave Lawton, Chris Ted are all with us as well. Thank you, everybody who is with us so far. Right, let's go through this. I'll start with the look. I've referred to the episode title as Look, which has caught some people off guard. Upsets people maybe. Adrak says, look, as you headline, it may not change if we start creating genuine goal chances, shots on target, Brib problem again. Yeah, my reference in the name, Mick, to defend it a little bit maybe, is more in terms of injuries. Because that is basically luck. The fact that Cameron Humphries appears to have severely torn his hamstring on the stroke of half time, and the other injuries are just luck, and we can't seem to buy a bit of luck at the minute with all the injuries. And I don't think we're on his own. I think other clubs are affected. I'm not playing the little Rotherham card. I'm just saying we are being hit so hard at the minute.
Yeah, we are, and the Cam Humphries one seems to be the worst out of the lot, doesn't it? There's not many injuries that I've been aware of that require immediate surgery, so it must be a hell of a tear, and you've got a feel for the lad, and just putting our own sort of our own worries about the team aside for a minute. It's his livelihood, and he's going to be out of action for 3-4, possibly more months. So I feel for Cam, but I'm sure he'll be back as big and strong once he's recovered. But from a team point of view, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. We've got one fit centre back, and when you bear in mind that centre back is probably where we are best staffed across the whole of the team. That kind of gives you an indication as to where we sit at the moment. It's looking like Grant Hall may possibly be fit. If he is, what we're doing is rushing him back clearly because we're only in a may possibly be fit. The only person that could fill in is Hakeem Adoffin, who's out till after the international break as a midfielder, but he can fill in at centre back. Lee Peltier possibly may be back. But again, you're rushing a player back from injury. It's just it's not great. So what can you do? We're not the only team suffering from injuries, are we? Ultimately, everybody else, or not everybody else, but many other clubs are suffering a similar sort of fate, whether it be to a greater or lesser degree. And I guess it's the nature of the beast, but it's difficult to swallow, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got like Mick says, Peltier will be in contention. I think Peltier is basically available, but again, it may not be best to push 90 minutes out of a guy who's been out all season essentially already. Grant Hall and Cafu could be back into the squad, but again, we'll certainly won't be fit to start. So that doesn't help us going. We'll preview the game properly in a minute, Tom, but we are really stuck back there at the minute. For me, if Grant Hall's fit, you still don't start him. You can't start him because we know he's made of glass, sadly. And if you chip him in, he'll be injured in 10 minutes. You need to slowly be able to build him into a game. Yeah,
no, definitely. You can't risk it. Same with Peltier. Same with Cafu to an extent, although I don't think he's as needed. So you're looking at playing the same back three that you did in the second half of the pressing game, which is less than ideal, especially with Taylor not being on the side as well. It's going to be a difficult game. And especially when you consider as well that Bramall missed the game prior, I think it was, because of an injury. So in that case, you've got 2 out of your 3 centre halves being fullbacks and one of them not being at full fitness. It's interesting. Is the easiest way to put it. I don't know what you do. I have no clue what you do in that scenario. You have one fit defender and you have no one to kind of plug in that gap. It's a hellish job.
Yeah, and you're limited. Like it's not like we could have signed if we'd have had 2 more centre backs in the 25-man squad, Danny. That'd have been too many people. There'd have been. They were talking 7 or 8 centre halves in quad. It'd have been just been stupid. So it's difficult to criticise anybody. I know we got people who have Grant Hall's got injury problems, and so is Sean Morrison. But that's really unfortunate to have like 4 or 5 centre halves injured at the same time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, to have basically your entire roster of centre backs out injured, it's like
and your backups, Peltier,
and your backups as well. It's like good grief. I mean, like Taylor said in his pre-match, the luck hasn't been with us in that regards. And it's very, very unfortunate how severe Humphries' injury is. Like I said, it may require surgery. It's leaning on that side because of where the tear is near his tendon. But I suppose you've got a slight backup in Peltier coming back, and he is in strong contention for Saturday. I imagine Peltier will probably start, if I'm being completely honest, unless we go to a 3. But we've seen how we play with a 3. And if Peltz isn't up to full match fitness, then Taylor said they'll make the decision with Grant Hall on Saturday morning, which is a bit cutting it fine. But I imagine it'll be Peltz starting, and if he starts blowing towards the 60-minute mark, it will probably be swapped out for Grant Hall, and we'll rotate it round that way because there's no way that Peltier could do 100 minutes after being out for the whole season, more or less. Same with Grant Hall, like we've just discussed. There's no way he could do that, so it might be a 1 in, 1 out, and that's a sub that we'll probably bank on as well. But it's something silly like 9 players have been out with some injury at some point in our squad, and I don't even think we've played 9 games yet. Which is crazy. It's one of those proper unfortunate situations we find ourselves in that isn't really a lot we can do to help it. All right, I'll jump the comments before I see it, like signing younger players who are injury prone. All right, yeah, fair enough, but how much do they cost exactly? We've signed these players for experience, and that's what they're giving us. But unfortunately, all of them have become injured at once, which I don't think anyone would have predicted. Plus, the young guy in the back line is also now injured as well, so it's a bit of a oof. But I think it's a case of digging in and weathering the storm in Cardiff. I mean, they weathered the storm last time they were with us and came away with 3 points. And it's our turn to do it down there as well. I've got in a weather reference. I'm happy.
Cardiff, that's what you were all here for. You've got it. Well done. Take it away. Mate, let's sort of move on. So we finished off the game with 3 back last week with obviously Tyler Blackett in the middle. Well, again, has played almost every minute this season. I bet he's not far away from pulling something, to be honest with you. And we finished with Dexter and Cohen Bramwell as your three. I'll be honest, that worked okay. I thought Bramwell's legs helped out. He helped everybody out. Revan was perfectly fine at left fullback, left wing back. So who we would think will be more up to speed now. Now he's a free week. You then got to fill that right wing back role, which is a problem because I think it limits Fred. But I was fine. That back five was really strong against a really strong Preston. Well, a good Preston team.
Yeah, but they didn't offer very much, did they? Let's be fair. You know, they offered very little. We know why they're top of the league, and that's because of the teams that we played up to press. It's nothing really to do with the sort of ability over and above anybody else in this division. So we were able to weather that storm, like Danny said, in that second half with what is obviously a makeshift defence. It does give us the benefit of having that pace back there, but you're relying then on just one player dealing with all the aerial threat, and that is just not sustainable for 90 minutes, is it? You know, so well, I don't want to be in Matt Taylor's shoes if Peltz and Hall are not up to 45 minutes apiece, because you know we're starting the game straight away on the back foot, and that is no way to start a game away from home the way we've been performing. You know, I mean, we already start on the back foot with 3 or 4 paces behind behind what we've started already. You know, when we've got that sort of a makeshift defence. So I'm sure they'll sort it. I'm sure Peltz, like you said, will be there and what have you. But I can't see him. I can't see Matt Taylor wanting to start the game the way we finished the Preston game.
Yeah. John S. tempting fate that says the defence can't get worse. You've done it now, John, haven't you? You've done it now. There's Blackett pulling up on Friday afternoon and Cohen Bramwell's in the
I get where John's coming from there, because we've been shipping goals.
We have as well, yeah. Right,
left and centre, you know. And we've seen this so many times before with other clubs up and down the country, you know, where they end up playing somebody who has no right to be in that position, and they end up being, you know, all right and dealing with it. So as we did on Saturday against them. So yeah, but not for a full game. Not for a full game. It's not going to happen, is it?
No, and it doesn't help, Tom. There's a 3-game week. You know, if you have a game midweek, you could maybe rinse Peltier for an extra 15 minutes or push Hall for maybe an hour or something like that. We've got another game in 4 or 5 days. You can't push them too hard because you've got 4 days time to think about it. And I know it's annoying. I know, but we don't want to hear that. We don't want to think that. But that has got to come into the thinking as well, sadly.
Yeah. I've no clue what's going to happen. It's ridiculous. I completely forgot that. Is it Bristol? It's Bristol City, isn't it? Midweek, and it's
Bristol City on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's on Sky.
Oh yeah, that matters. This is it's going to be that's going to be fun. It's so tough, isn't it? Because I think Kev was saying it last time on the last episode. It's just go for it. I mean, somebody said, Terry said in the comments, if we score them, there's no problem. Just try and outscore them. We've got no defense. Just try and score. I don't know. It's just at what point do the tactics fly out the window and you just go back to basics of just. I've got no clue what we do now. Absolutely no clue. Especially with a midweek game where the state of these players are already shattered. They physically, mentally, through some tough games that they played, and now they're going into more of it. And I know it's their jobs, and I know that this league is hard, but going into that international break, it'd be interesting to see who's still alive and who's still trying to God, it'd be it's going to be a tough cut. I think this is the kind of make or break for Taylor. I think is if we have a really poor run of games, and I mean really, really poor, then I don't know how we recover from that mentally.
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced on that, Tom, at all. I think if we do have a really poor run of games, given that we've already had a really poor run of games away from home, all season. Once this team's back and fit, which it will be,
Yeah.
I feel like it will be, but it will be. Jamie Lindsay's on his way back as well. Adolfin should be back after the international break. Hopefully, by that time, Hall will be fit, Peltier will be fit, Cafu will be fit. We're starting to look at look at things quite a lot differently.
But the problem with that is how mentally scarred would they be? If let's go worst case scenario, and let's say we take 3 heavy defeats this week. That's obviously I don't think that's worst case scenario. It's a 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, or something similar. That even with the experience, that is such a tough position to come back mentally from the players.
It is. But and if we were having this conversation in January, I would absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
But we're only we're not quite out of September yet, are we? And we've hit this patch of injuries, which every team will hit at some stage during the season.
Others are already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. John says Eves could do a job in defence. I remember Michael Smith going at centre half when Woody got sent off against Accrington, so it's not unheard of.
I mean, to be fair, I remember Woody getting injured and going up top, but in one game.
Yeah. Let me flip this, Danny, and say this could work out in a sort of a positive mental way, because if by some miracle we come out of Saturday with something, with a positive result, be it a win or a really good performance or picking up a point, that can be a really, really great mental springboard that these lads have come through something that's really, really difficult in terms of lack of numbers, and that they can push. Even if we don't win, if we see something in terms of performance, that can be used as a springboard to a positive.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think if you get a result out of the Cardiff game, it's points away from home for 1. Favourably 3 points, but I think at this point, lads, we're all going to take at least 1, aren't we? But even that's a positive. It's still an improvement on other away games points-wise. And with a team that's effectively makeshift in a lot of areas, and putting gaffer tape over the leaks where we can at the moment. If we were to get a result against Cardiff, then I think it is a big mental boost. Like, actually, you know what, we can do this when we are effectively in the mud, in the trenches. We can still grind out a result against a team that's, currently 7th and has got 3 wins on the spin. That's Cardiff's team talk. We've performed brilliantly. These lot are all effectively injured on crutches. Just go for it. But I think we need to do exactly the same. We need to play without fear against Cardiff and go, you know what, we're the ones that are still standing. We're going to give it all that we've got, and try and get the best result that we can. If it's 1, fair enough. If it's all 3, even better. We know the home form is carrying us a little bit. We weren't the best against... I've forgotten who we played at the weekend. That's really bad. Preston. That's the one. We weren't the best against Preston. It was an improvement on Millwall. We weren't the best, but we got a point out of it. And that was also with going a bit makeshift. Yeah. So if we look at Cardiff, Bristol City, Southampton like that, and go just, get through it, everyone muck in and help your buddy out, then... We've had a question in the comments about when does tactics go out the window. Like you said, Tom, at times like this where you effectively cover each other's arses.
Yeah.
And that's what the defence needs to do at this point. Like I said before, if Peltz starts, I think he'll be right-sided centre-back next to Dexter. If Dexter's going forward, that's Peltz on that right-hand side anyway, which is the position he likes. Fair enough, it puts Tyle back in the middle on his own and Cohen having to come that side, but that's when the whole team needs to move to that side to support it. It needs to be a team effort at the minute and everyone be on the game effectively. It's one of them where it's like, if we lose, I'm not really bothered because, you see how makeshift we are, but at the same time, it'd be nice to see everyone muck in and grind something out.
I know what you mean. Daryl Carroll says that Cardiff played last night will be okay. Yes, they did play last night, lost 5-2 in the Carabao Cup. They made 10 changes. Imagine making 10 changes. Imagine having enough players to make 10 changes.
Yeah. We hardly have 10 players, just rubbing it
in. So, yes, they did play, but I would basically ignore the fact because, like Matt Tiller talked about it, it's pre-match presser that he went to watch and get the idea what they're going to play, and then none of the players played that they expected. If you want a bit more on Cardiff, we did the scouting report, which is up on the YouTube channel. We did that with Tom, who's obviously a Cardiff fan. He gave us a bit breakdown. They're very, very positive start to the season. They've probably defied everybody's expectations, to be honest with you. I think we all expected Cardiff to be lower mid-table at best, and they've had a great start under their new manager. So every team we play at the minute seems to be on a run of so many wins in a row, don't they? We just seem to be playing teams at the wrong time, which adds into luck, although people won't like that word. Yeah. John Morrell says home form carrying us a bit. That's the understatement of the season.
It is rather, yeah.
It is.
It's the same in every championship season of late, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But this season more so than ever.
Currently,
it's
anyway.
more so than ever because the difference in levels of performance between home and away is just so stark. You know?
It's not even results, is it? It's not even the results.
It's not about the results away and at home. It's about the level of performance. So, yeah. All we can ask for on Saturday is that we go away and play the way we play at home with the same intensity and the same aggression and the same fight. If we lose, we lose. However, I don't think we would. You know, I just don't. See, I've seen something from Matt Taylor today about the size of the pitch at New York. And the fact that the pitches that we play on away are so much bigger. We're not talking much more than a yard or two.
It can be a relative. There's got parameters you can be bigger or a lot smaller than. I didn't think our pitch was particularly small, to be honest.
No, I didn't either.
Apparently, it is.
But the stadium is tight, and that obviously makes it a little bit more sort of intense. I guess the atmosphere, hardly, because it's not as though we're blowing roof off as spectators. So. No, we need to be getting there and going for it rather than just fannying about like we have done in the previous away games. Not good enough.
Yeah, Matt Taylor is banned from the touchline for this game. It's not a stadium ban, so he's allowed to do the pre-match talk. He's going to have the walkie-talkie up there. The problem for Matt Taylor is if we win on Saturday, he's not allowed to come back into the dugout for me. He's got to watch every game.
Say that into rugby where they're just in the box with a microphone.
Yeah.
Can I just say that the fact that he's picked up that ban is absolutely outrageous.
Yeah,
it is.
Absolutely. I know I wasn't on Sunday. And it was absolutely outrageous that he was booked. I can't believe it looking back at that. It was a disgrace. And I didn't think the referee had a bad game against Preston. I know you've talked about it, and I won't go on about it. But I don't think he had a particularly bad game. But there were two key decisions really in the game that they clearly got wrong, and that was one of them. And I mean, it's just absolutely outrageous that he was booked for that.
Yeah. And we people often say with players that they're not that kind of player. Matt Taylor's never had a touchline ban in his career before. It's not like Steve Evans who gets banned every 3 or 4 games, probably.
He got booked by a referee who knew he'd made a mistake and wasn't having that mistake pointed out to him.
I agree. John Morrell wants to come in on the pitch. Pitch can be massively different. We played at Coventry and they widened the pitch to the maximum allowed. You can see the old lines were 3 or 4. But yeah, I remember at the Euros, the pitch was a different size, weren't it? I can't remember if it was a lot wider or what, but the pitch at the Women's Euros that we were also last year, there was a difference in the white line. So there is differences. But like I said, I don't know if it makes a massive difference. It must do, otherwise Matt Taylor wouldn't have mentioned it, I suppose. Mick, this is a bit of a hypothetical one, but I suppose we may as well cover it. He says, evening all. To say Matt Taylor is reaping what he has sown, Ray says he would have kept Woody and let Morrison go. Nobody was fitter than Richard Wood. That is a tough one because we all love Woody, but it was the right time. We can all say with hindsight now that we should have kept him on, we should have kept somebody else, and we should have paid Wes whatever money he wanted or whatever. But it just felt everything was right at the time to let Woody go. It felt right for me.
If we hadn't had that goal disallowed against Leicester, we'd have drawn that game. We'd have been a point better off. If we hadn't conceded against Sunderland that second goal, we'd have got a point there as well. You know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and they made the decisions that they made based on what they felt was right for the club at the time. And as it's turned out, the people who were moaning about it at the time have been proved right because of the injuries that these players have got. But it's easy to criticise now, isn't it? It is easy to criticise, and I get why people do. I'm not, that's not a criticism of people making that criticism. They're right to point that out. But as far as I'm concerned, the management team and the club did what they felt or made what they felt were the right decisions at the time, and that they'll stand by them, or they'll stand and fall by them. And at the moment, given the injuries that we've got, that we're going to fall by them, but there's still a long way to go. So we can't afford to buy young players. We can't afford to buy young championship quality centre halves. How we managed to get all the Cam Humphries is beyond me, to be honest with you. There is no way that we can do it. We can't. You've got to make some compromises somewhere. And if you're going to make compromises and bring in players with experience, the back line is the place to do it, rather than that energetic midfield area or even up front. But certainly those are the areas to strengthen with experienced players, and it's backfired, unfortunately. But to
kind of feed onto your point there is, we bought Sam Nombe for $1 million, not even an established championship player who is relatively, well, he's 24, is he? 24, 25? So that's not young. It's still young, but it's not young. And to not be a championship established player at that age as well, and to spend $1 million on him, you've got to think about how much some teams are spending on actual championship proper defined players at the ages of 23, 24. You're looking at well over 5-6 million for one player, and is that really in our kind of remit? It's not.
I think if we ever saw Rotherham spend 5 to 6 million in the next 5 or 10 years or so, I think we'd all just faint, wouldn't we? I nearly fell off my chair when I saw we spent near enough £1 million on Nombe. It's like, are you sure that's Rotherham United, lads? Like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Is that not an account now with an extra zero? Are you sure?
Also, I've lost Ray's comment, but what I would say is that I think Woody's been injured this season, ironically. Maybe, I don't know. There's no World Cup to blame this year. We learned injury last year at World Cup, didn't we? There's no World Cup to blame this year, so I don't know what the problem is, because, again, we aren't the only club that has been affected for some reason.
For what it's worth, and I know this is a controversial decision with some people, I think we probably did get rid of Woody at the right time. Much as I didn't want to see him leave the club because of what he's done for us, I think it was the right time for him and for us. So, yeah, that's my view.
John, with some perspective, which we always appreciate, he do it with this. Says Birmingham got AU, which is probably not how you say it, but he got AU on centre back on loan with the view to permanent. He will cost £3 million, and he hasn't played a minute for him so far. This is the market we're sort of shopping in, unless you get lucky with a sort of a young loanee, which we are sort of getting lucky with a young loanee in Dexter, aren't we? To be fair, So we've got Paramount says we got to look more overseas.
Yeah,
we signed Arven Appiah from Spain. We've signed Chris Tiahi from Slovenia, and we've signed Andre Green from either Slovakia or Slovenia, I think. So we can't send everybody from abroad, but I think we certainly have this summer. We seem to have widened the net a little bit. Anyway,
and the quality players as well.
Yeah. They are so far. They are. Let's just wrap up with the referee stuff. Referee is Mr. Lee Doughty. We didn't last referee us this game, but he did referee the Burnley game last season at Turf Moor.
Don't set me off.
Flashbacks. I'll give you all a minute while your flashbacks just finish.
I've had a good day at work. I do not mean reminding about that fiasco at Burnley.
And again, this might mean nothing, but this is only his second championship game of the season. Will be on Saturday. He's refereed more League Two games this season than championship games, which is a slightly concerning that's how he's thought of. He did referee the Carabao Cup game of Cardiff and Birmingham and sent off a Birmingham player, I think, or a Cardiff who got a red card. But that's Mr. Doughty for you. Don't expect anything good.
Cohen Bramall, like, just keep your hands and your feet to yourself, lad. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He had a nightmare in that game. He had an absolute nightmare.
In the end, I seem to remember that first half he was okay. Much like many championship referees, they just lose themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, lads, thinking about it, it might actually be a good thing that Matt Taylor's not on the sideline if Lee Doughty's the referee, because I think if we have a similar fiasco with Burnley, Matt Taylor wouldn't just be banned from the touchline, he'd just be banned from football with some of the antics he'd get up to. But probably with me as well if he has a Burnley performance as well. But it just had to be. Had to be.
Yeah. At least it's not Keith. At least it's not our Keith yet.
Yeah. Sorry, John. Let's see your comment.
Yeah, it's just he says he sent Lee Dowd sent Djukovic off for his first red card in that Cardiff Birmingham game I mentioned in the cup for his first red card of his career. Mr. Lee Doughty, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for ruining.
What you proper deserved, like 2 studs to the chest, kind of.
What you mean on the referee or one of our players to the Cardiff players?
No, I just meant Djukovic's red card, like proper no nonsense red card, and we're just there like,
In fact, to be fair, I'd love to see Jordan Hugill turn into Zinedine Zidane in a moment of madness.
I wouldn't be sent off with man down.
Well, just the referee, then fair enough.
Right.
No. Only
I'll cheer you up a bit less by reading our record against Cardiff City, which is pretty poor. The last win overall against Cardiff was in 2015, which was Steve Evans' final home game. The last win in Wales, South Wales, was in 1998 with a Lee Glover 1-0 victory. It was at Ninian Park. He moved into whatever it's called now, the Cardiff City Stadium or whatever.
Well, just in reply to that, I can try and get your hopes up a little bit. It means that this being my first visit to Cardiff, with the first one getting cancelled because the bus never turned up, we might actually win because, we've not won since 98. I was born in 99. First visit to Cardiff.
Yeah.
Clutching at straws, but you never know.
I think our record in South Wales in general is pretty bad. We should just stop playing in South Wales, maybe.
I mean, let's when you bear in mind that last year away at Cardiff was probably one of the worst games of football I have ever had the misfortune to have to sit through. It was just so bad that I also wished I'd missed the bus.
It was the worst until we went to Blackpool a few months later, and that was just as bad a game of football.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Just finally, John Morell says the journal that covered the Birmingham game said that it was the worst refereeing performance in 20 years.
Yeah, never mind.
John's just making this up now, just to fires a bit. But listen. We all know what Lee Doughty's about. We've had enough experience with him, so as a team, as a set of players, they've got no excuses going into the game. They know what's going to happen, and it's up to them to deal with that. It's a sad state of affairs when you have to go into a game having to deal with the referee as well. But unfortunately, that's where we are, and that's not going to change anytime soon, is it? So we need to do our thing. We need to do what we are capable of doing and have done in all our home games this season, and do it away from home. And if we do that, we'll be all right.
Yeah. Let's move on, Tom. Back to Darrell in relation to us. Well, this is where the part of the show where I go, how do you think we're going to set up? Who do you think is going to play where? And there's no point having that conversation, really. The question that I will ask, and this is the only real question that we can sort of debate, maybe, is striker, the setup and striker, who's going to play up there? Because last week, when we went to 5 at the back, we changed to a 2. We changed to Hugill and Andre Green as your top 2. Nombe came on later on in the game. I'm leaning towards that'll be the formation again. I think we want that extra body in defence just because we're lacking.
Yeah,
so I think we're more like a 5-3-2. What do you think? Similar, or do you disagree?
No, I completely agree. It's going to have to be a 5-back, especially with personnel wise. I don't think anyone wants it to be a 5-back, but I think it has to be. So I think Johansson, Blackett, Bramall, Dexter, Revan,
Pelts.
Pelts,
think?
if Pelts will start.
Yeah.
You think he'll start?
I mean, if Pelts doesn't start, we're not going to get 5 at the back, are we? Unless Tom Hughes is there.
I was going to say Fred at right wing back, but he's just
He weren't great at right wing back last week. He was so quiet.
so
I mean, maybe
not-
that's a good thing.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go with Mick. I'm going to say Pelt starts and put Dexter at wing back. 3 in midfield is the same 3: Klukas, Thierry, and Rathbone. Am I still on here? And then 2 up front. Yeah, Green and Hugill again. It's too harsh of a game to put Nombe in unless he wants to play that. God knows. Yeah, Green. I'm going to go Green and Hugill, and then somebody else can say Nombe and Hugill, and then as a collective, we're all right. So,
Paramad says it's going to be the New York Stadium Pigeon and Tyler Blackett.
What's he called now? Is it Percy, the New York Pigeon?
I don't know. Under what circumstances, Danny, could you see going back to? I think 4 at the back is the preferred. I think we're all pretty happy with it. That's the preferred formation. Under what circumstances could you see it being a 4? Would it have to be Hall available?
Pelts isn't fit enough to start, maybe.
Or would you be happy with Pelts as a centre back in a 4?
I think because we know Pelts can play as a right back and as a right-sided centre back. All right, fair enough. He's more favoured as a right-sided centre back in a 3, as we've seen him line up before. We always saw him get a bit too mixed up with Harding. Obviously, Dexter's a completely different player to Harding. You know, he's a lot faster, and if I'm being honest, a lot more switched on with getting back. If I'm being honest. So maybe that'll help Peltier out a little bit, that he's got a bit more of that cover. I just don't want them to get mixed up again. I want Dexter to stay out wide and Peltier be effectively on the edge of the 18-yard box in defensive scenarios, like that proper solid 5 unit. But it just depends on how much is in Peltier's tank, to be fair. You know, I think if we go with a 4, he may be a bit more called upon, shall we say, and may have to get switched out for me at this point earlier in the game. But if we go for a 5, he'll have a bit more protection with Dex at the side of him. I suppose Tai can drop in a little bit as well. The only concern is, not really concern, but the only thing would be Cohen at left side of centre back. He's done the job, don't get me wrong, but he did a bit of a job against Preston in that position. But it's still a bit of a, would you start like that, or would that be a switch later in the game?
I'll be honest, I think there's something there with Bramwell at centre back, because if you not against a team who's massive, you've got a team of giants, then I think it's potentially a problem. But he's got that pace to cover, and not only has he got that pace to cover defensively, that overload on the left-hand side towards at times was brilliant. He's that attacking side of things. We've seen it with some other. I mean, Sheffield United are famous for the overlapping centre halves, weren't they? In that 3 at the back, that's something that could work. Don't get me wrong. He's got a lot of work. It'd be
a hell of a lot of running for Cohen to like overlap Revs and then come back into centre back. Yeah, but from the start though.
I know you're probably right, and I'm probably just dreaming. But I don't know. There's just something that makes me think it might work.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from, and to be fair, I would be happy with a 5 at the back. But just from how we are with bodies at the minute, I can see it starting as a 4 and being switched to a 5 later on. For I know it goes against Taylor Ball, the defensive security when he likes to bring on the attackers in those situations, but I just want to see a bit more defensive security, like it just in the second half, you know, like maybe a half-time change almost to switch the formation at half-time, keep Cardiff guessing a little bit. But I'm happy either way. I would, however, have Nombe up top with Hugill in the 2.
I probably would, but I was impressed with Green as a striker last week. Thought he did all right. He got in some good positions. Mick, defensive setup. Were you nodding along because you agreed with the Cohen Bramwell at centre half, or you just think I'm stupid?
No, I thought you were going to say some would argue that he plays left side centre back anyway because he's so far out of position as a left back sometimes. I thought that's where you were going to come from. Which is partially true, you know. He does tend to wander inside a bit and leave his left back spot vacant. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate, to be honest with you. It's so difficult for anybody to know because we haven't got anybody.
No.
I don't know whether Matt Taylor's going to register himself. He can't be on touchline. Maybe he can play. In the centre half himself, weren't it, lad? So, you know, now might be a time for him to register as a player manager. And yeah, all right, I can't be on bench. That's fine. I'll be on pitch. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. For me, as far as the front two are concerned, I thought, like you, Matt, I thought Green had a really good game. And I'd like to see him stay in the team. Certainly, he's done nothing to be dropped as far as I'm concerned. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, you're not going to be dropping Jordan Hugo, given that he's playing against one of his former teams. No. That's not going to happen, is it? So, yeah, Matt Taylor, out of all the team selections he's had so far this season, this one's going to be. Well, I'm going to say it's going to be the most difficult. It's probably not, to be fair, because he's not really got a great deal to choose from, has he? You know?
No, he's got like two or three decisions to make. Well, those 2 or 3 are big decisions.
They are, but it's just a question of who you can fit in where.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Cafu back, but again, I can't see him playing a full 90.
Be good if you get 20 minutes out of Cafu, you know, towards end. When you're still in game.
Yeah. He can certainly influence the game significantly. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a bit depressing at the moment because we got so much optimism a few weeks ago, particularly the way that we were playing at home, and then within the space of 2 or 3 weeks,
it was less than that, wasn't it?
Absolutely woeful, dreadful away performances, and then a bucket load of injuries. It's completely pulled the rug from under our feet, and it's given the moaners loads and loads to moan about, and us happy clappers very little to clap about. We just got to hope that. I guess we've got to hope it turns around. It will turn around. I think we all know that. Even the moaners know that. But it's just not great at the minute, is it? And he's got his work cut out, as Mr. Taylor.
It's difficult to pick a positive in it. It's difficult to say this is going to be really good on Saturday. We just don't. There's so many unknowns going in.
The positive is the home form, isn't it? That is the positive, and if we can transfer at least some of that, into the way that we play away from home, then that will be fine.
Yeah,
I was just about to make a joke that the positive is home form and we're playing away.
Yeah. John Morell says Bramwell against a huge bloke at Cardiff. They play up top. Would be asking for it. Yeah, but Preston played with a couple of big blokes last week, and it were fine. There were no real issues from Bramwell. I am pushing that Bramwell boat, by the way. I'm going to keep pushing that until it has a stinker on Saturday. I am pushing that. There's something there that could work. Anyway, Mick moaning about the moaners. How ironic. A sort of positive, Tom. And again, this is a sort of a positive. It can't be worse than the Millwall game.
Oh, yeah, you had to go and say it, didn't you?
But it can't, can it? Because we could lose 6-0, but we can't play as bad as we did against Millwall. So the base is low. The base is so low that we can't go. I don't think we can go as bad.
Do I have to answer that? I mean, theoretically, it really can. Theoretically,
it could, yeah, but I don't think before.
You can do United and theoretically lose boatloads and destroy everything.
But they were at home, though.
Yeah, to be fair, actually, no, I guess yes and no is that yes, theoretically, it absolutely can go worse than that, but in the same, I see where you're trying to get the optimism from that it was so bad. How can it possibly reach that again? But Sunday might be fun, or it might be really, really, really poor. Just Sunday.
What Matt has just done there is the equivalent at work to when someone says, "Oh, I think it's going to be a quiet day," and then everyone and the dog walks in and has something to eat and a pine. You say it can't be much worse than Millwall. Oh, it can. It's not. It's not that long ago. We lost 5-1 to Cardiff, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that was Paul Ward's first season, I think. Second season. Yeah, I think we're at that point in away games where we just need to start pushing all the luck we can. Cross all the black cats, break all the mirrors. One of these things will then turn into good luck away from home.
I dread to think what we're going to do to rabbit population if we're all taking with lucky feet. Jesus.
They'll be fine. The rabbits will be fine. The feet will be less fine, but the rabbits will be fine. This is what it's got to. This is what the away form has brought us to.
If you're not going to cry, you might as well laugh, eh?
Exactly. Yeah. So let's do some predictions. Mick, you normally go 2-0 win. I think generally we all go very positive results. I didn't press the button, but generally we're all positive. With the away form, is the away form bringing your prediction down?
No. It's got to change sooner or later, hasn't it?
Has it?
And to be fair, we're better to do it than Cardiff after all the grief and earache they gave us last season. And they're jumping about like, they're
doing a rain dance.
They're on an absolute high, the best team in the world, blah, 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 blah. How funny and sweet would it be to knock them off their pedestal? So I'm sticking with my prediction.
Okay.
2-0 win.
2-0 win.
Mark Gamble's just smashed the mirror with a black cat under a ladder. That's it, Mark. That's the one. That's what we need. Mick's put some clickbaitable stuff up there for the Cardiff fans, which is nice. And put us with a production. There'll be a podcast that'll need you shortly, probably. I'll pass your name across.
Yeah, no, don't bother.
Tom, what do you reckon?
0-0. I can't see us scoring, and I don't want to see them scoring. 0-0.
So again, I'm not trying to sway you, Tom, but you think we're going to keep a clean sheet?
Yeah, when you put it like that. Oh, for God's sake. 1-1. 1-1. 1-1.
Okay. Danny.
Well, first of all, I'll say no one can call us the Happy Clappers podcast anymore, can they? You know what? I'm going to go with the result that I'll be the most happy with, given the state of affairs. I'm going to say 1-1.
1-1. Cool. I am going to do less positive. Cardiff start to is very impressive.
Yeah.
3-1 to Cardiff, sadly.
Given some of the comments there, has anyone checked the weather for Saturday?
I've just said it now. It just is cloudy.
Oh, that's a shame.
I was hoping it was going to rain and we could do like a funny weather forecast again, but it doesn't seem to be the case, sadly.
That's unfortunate.
Then I don't think it was forecast last year to rain at New York.
Good point, well made.
And it did. Ian Bradley says 3-0 to Cardiff. Palmer says 4-0 to Cardiff. Richard Brown says we don't win 2-0 all season. John S says 4-1 to Cardiff. Yozza says 2-2. Yeah. You feel positivity being sucked out of it, really, can't you, to be honest with you? But that's what happens to the away form. I suppose what do you expect? All the people that are making this trip on Saturday deserve a medal as well for continually following this club. You're spending all this money on tickets and travel and everything else that comes along with it. We all know the danger of supporting football clubs, and I don't think anybody's sort of asking for sympathy. I certainly hope they're not, because this is the risk you run. But that is great support to continually follow this club, with bearing in mind this away form being so horrific. Danny will be there.
Unfortunately.
Danny will be there, hopefully, barring touching all the wood.
If the coach don't turn up again and we end up winning, I will be furious.
That will be quite bad. Yeah. Just maybe not finish, but Chris Page, which wants to say, he said this at the start, it's Scunthorpe United on the brink of going under. Not good seeing clubs go under. Yeah, that's maybe not a sliding doors moment, Mick, but it was, how many years ago? That's 7 or 8 years ago. We were beating them in the playoffs, and we got pushed hard in that playoffs as well, to be honest with you.
We were 2018, that one.
2018, sorry, yeah. So it's sad, really, because there's not much difference with us and Scunthorpe, to be honest with you, in terms of size of club.
No, probably not. Probably not. They've got they've got nobody around them either, you know. So if they were doing well, they could be a reasonably well supported club as well. And it's another issue with owners, isn't it? Club owners and not being fit and proper people to run football clubs, and it will continue, won't it? And I know there's lots of talk about why the EFL haven't done this and haven't done the other, and fit and proper person test and everything else. It's not something that I'd like to get involved with, that, because I don't see how you can actually, in reality, determine whether or not somebody is fit and proper. And clearly, the bloke who's been there isn't. They don't own the ground. They're getting booted out of the ground.
Does it sound familiar, that?
I can't remember where. It's going back in my mind. Hopefully, they'll be able to do the same as we did, but they're starting at a much lower base. You know,
they're regional football, aren't they? They're the National League North, so regional football.
Exactly, which is shocking. It's dreadful. It's absolutely dreadful. But yeah, there's very few people I'd wish it upon.
Yeah. Well, look, they can think of one.
No. In all seriousness, no. I wouldn't wish it on any football supporter.
Yeah, we've seen clubs back. Stockport, that's the level Stockport got to before they came back, and they're coming back with an absolute bang now. Wrexham didn't go quite the level, but they're coming back. Yeah, it's sad. I used to put on Twitter. My first memory of going to following Rotherham away was at Scunthorpe United. I got battered 4-0 or 4-1, but it's part of the football family and football memory. Danny, Tom, anything to add on the plight at Scunthorpe?
No, just if you've seen the messages that the chairman was sending out to some of the fans, it's horrible stuff, and it's just pathetic and everything wrong with modern ownership of some football clubs, and it's just cash grabs, businesses, whatever, and it's just it's just horrible stuff, and you know everyone feels for not every single fan, because it's just the worst possible thing that any football fan can imagine going through. It's just not having a club to support, and there you go, just like that, because of some absolute despicable businessman. It's all vanished. Yeah, businessman. It's all vanished. So yeah.
I understand the casinos have done very well in Scunthorpe though. So swings and roundabouts, in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just proves again that the football regulator needs to come in as soon as possible, because football cannot govern itself. Football has proven that from top to bottom, football cannot govern itself. It needs a regulator.
Quiet on that front, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, sadly. And then there'll be an election next year or whenever election, and then that'll get all put in with whatever each party says and does. It's just, yeah. Yeah, John Brell got to read that their owner was writing an open letter to the Prime Minister for business advice. How times have changed. Yeah, that's life. Mark Gamble's, which I think is a valid and important point. It should be part of the rules that clubs own their grounds. I know we don't, however, it avoids situations like Wednesday and Derby. Sheffield Wednesday is potentially an important example. They don't own their ground, and their owner seems like the kind of guy who could just bugger off at a minute's notice, and that's a worry for them potentially.
I think what Mark said, it does ring true that it should be the football club entity that owns the ground. It can't be like the chairman puts money into the club, but they own the stadium outright. Because like we've seen with Scunthorpe, he's basically pulled his funding and they've got kicked out because he owns the ground itself.
No, the previous owner owns the ground.
Oh,
they had a big falling out with previous owner. It's crazy.
Oh, well, then they've got a previous owner who owns the ground, and the new owner has pulled his funding from the club, so that's even more of a shambles. I mean, at least with us, the stadium itself, we wouldn't really be kicked out of it if Tony Stewart pulled his funding, because we play there through and we rent it off a council or something like that.
It's protected, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, so I suppose we've got a bit of a netting to fall on with that, even if it's not Rotherham United, the umbrella itself that owns the stadium, if you like. But it just, like, the plot seemed just to get thicker and thicker with Scunthorpe, because they said they'd be playing at Gainsborough Trinity, and then Gainsborough Trinity came out and went, well, no, we've not agreed to that. We've said we'd help you out, but there's nothing in place yet. Like, you need to sort that out. So effectively, Scunthorpe are now a club without the ground, until something gets sorted. And like you say, it sounds familiar because it happens with Bury to a certain extent, and now we've seen it happen again. It's like, Jesus, how many football clubs have gone that way, where they've gone under, dropped down a lot of leagues, and then owners gone, I'm all right, poor his funding, and then there's no football. So hopefully, yeah, exactly. So hopefully, Gainsborough Trinity do allow them to play there when it's gone through the proper cycle and everything, and Scunthorpe do carry on in some regard playing football, even if it's however many miles away. But like it should, like Mark says, and like you've said, Matt, it should never get to the point where because one person said, I'm not giving you any more money, that means football stops completely at a certain location. Because I'm actually quite good I never got to go to Glanford Park because like when we played Scunthorpe, well, it's anyway.
It is one of the worst new grounds around, and I'm not trying to kick them all the down.
Exactly. So it's one of them where you can say that you've been and then never touch it again. But I'm sure I'm one of thousands of Rotherham fans who saw us beat Scunthorpe in playoff final, and if you'd have said, semi-final, sorry, and if you'd have said then, by 2023, Scunthorpe will have no ground and they'll be in regional National League North, I'd be like, give over. These will have another go next season. But it's just sad what's happening to Scunthorpe, isn't it? It's just really sad that it's happening again in football.
Yeah. Well, look at the memory. I know we're not going to go on, but the memories of us at Glanford, that Joe Newell goal in the playoffs. That was just iconic for Joe Newell. And the Semi-Ajay scoring that goal again in the same season, but in the league game. Anyway, anything else? Anything else we need to cover? Finish on Rotherham United stuff. Do we need to figure out if we lose on Saturday? Do we need to figure out a curse we can try and a spell we can to break the curse, or do we just keep plodding along?
Just keep going, plod along.
Keep plodding.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for being with us tonight. Please make sure if you're listening or with us on YouTube, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you can do. Like I say, if you haven't watched already, you can watch the scouting report with Tom, who'll give us not this Tom, different Tom, who gives us a lowdown on Cardiff City and what to expect from their very, very good start to the season. Their new manager and Aaron Ramsey and everything else that comes along with that club at the minute. If you're watching iTunes, listening to iTunes or Spotify, please make sure you subscribe wherever you are listening and give us a 5-star rating, because it should let you do on there. We will be back Sunday. It'll be slightly later on Sunday, probably about 8:30, something like that. There's other stuff going off on Sunday, which may or may not become clear over the next few days. So thank you all for being with us. Danny, thank you for being with us. Safe travels to South Wales.
Thank you very much, mate. It's going to be an early start, but, new ground. Looking forward to it.
Tom, thank you very much for being with us, mate. It's a pleasure as always.
Yeah, thing is, this might be the most depressing one I've done, but always fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, if we lose on Sunday, you can come back on for that one. That'll be the worst.
That'll be worse. Yeah.
And Mick, thank you very much. It's a pleasure as always being with us.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm glad I'm not going to Cardiff on Saturday. I'm not over the last time yet.
No. Anyway, thank you all for being with us. We'll see you next time, and up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
It's a Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringer, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box for Doffin, he can hit them, and he does. The Doffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.